Are you ready? What?
I got something to say.
Hey.
Oh, look at that. Another week.
Another
Amazing guest.
Another fantastic guest. We're really excited.
We were just chatting with David behind the scenes. We're gonna have fun tonight, guys.
Yeah, cool dude, man.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun. We're really excited. You can see the beautiful backdrop of Wyoming behind us. We're transporting you to a place far, far from Baltimore.
Where the
So
wine
you can
was like, how's it go? Capistrano.
You'll butcher it.
I'm butchering it.
You'll butcher it.
Talking about it, it's called Aspen.
You'd butcher it.
I did.
But no, it's fun. Nancy's in the house, and we saw her. Nancy, good to see you. We had Nancy on 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And she sang the praises of Wyoming whiskey.
Yeah, rightfully so.
So we were stoked. Last week we had on Still Austin. We had on Brandon Geldersman, who's a great dude. That was a ton of fun. We had a lot of
learned
fun there.
a lot of cool new things about Still Austin too.
And I mean, I'll just say this because Brandon did invite me to come out, and
I think he invited both of us.
Yeah, but you're not allowed out of the house.
That's true.
So
that's my only problem.
That's your only problem. So as much as I think Dave is going to be an awesome guest, if he doesn't invite me to Wyoming to go and taste,
you've always also wanted to go to.
I have,
like Big Sky Country.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. So
I don't think you'll come back if you go out there.
I love it out there.
I don't think you'll come back.
When I was in Salt Lake City, I drove to the Wyoming border just so I could cross it and have dinner or lunch in Evanstown.
Right. Yeah.
Took a picture of a couple bison, and then I was back to work.
You did,
but
I remember that.
I had never been to Wyoming. I was like, I gotta go to Wyoming. I just want to see it.
Just gotta go.
But anyway, the story of Wyoming whiskey is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You can see I've got a shirt. I'm a bit of a fanboy, and we are really excited for tonight's show. So welcome to you all. Thank you. Share out, please. Let's get some more people on. It's gonna be a fun night. We've got some cool giveaways. We got some great juice to give away.
Everything we're drinking, somebody could possibly win samples of as well.
And a little swag pack tonight.
I mean, Joe Graves won last week's Still Austin swag pack. Holy cow, that was nice.
That's scary. I know.
It was nice. He showed it.
He got good stuff, and came right away. It was really great. So it was fun stuff. So anyway, I guess without further ado, let's bring up our guest for tonight. From Wyoming Whiskey, their COO and co-founder, David DeFazio. Welcome to the show, man. How are you?
What's up, David?
Great. How are you?
We're good.
We're good tonight. Look at that background behind you. There's snow on the ground. Man, I tell you.
Doesn't it look nice?
Looks nice. A lot better than where we are.
It's cold, though, today.
It is cold. Well, I don't think it's
in Maryland, right?
We're in the great state of Maryland, home of Sagamore spirits, so to speak. We're, so that's our call to fame, so to speak, whiskey-wise. And Joe Flacco.
Yes. That's right.
You ever been to Bertha's?
Bertha's. Muscle. Yes, of course.
I went to law school in D.C., and my only 24 hours that I ever gave myself off was Saturday nights and Sundays.
Yeah.
And I drive up to the harbor there, and I would sit and I'd get a half a pound of steamed shrimp.
There you go.
Black and tan. And then when I was done with that, I'd order another half pound because it would come hot again. That's right. And another black and tan, and then I'd go back and study.
That's awesome.
Dude, hold on.
What? Did we just become best friends?
I love that. Beer, shrimp, seafood, Baltimore. I think next time, David, please let us know when you're in town. We'll get everybody together. We'll have a good time.
We'll take you out to Camden Yards. The nicest, regardless of how the Orioles do.
I think he's are you a Yankees fan? I think
yes,
I hear.
I am.
Oh boy. Well, at least you're not a Red Sox fan.
I think it's the most beautiful stadium there is. Period.
So are you a diehard Yankee fan?
I think so.
Yes.
All right, I'll just drop a little nugget. I am. My first cousin played for many years for the New York Yankees. He played first base for you guys for quite some time. So we went to.
Can we say his name?
I'm sure he's probably already got it, but
I don't know. There's a lot of first basemen. You could be talking about Don Mattingly for crying out loud.
Well, how old do you think I am? Don
well, you're pretty old.
Not Don Mattingly. So you know Chishera. He's my first.
That's what I was going to guess. Yeah.
There you go.
You look like him.
Oh God, no, he doesn't.
I hit like him too.
Oh my God, don't David, don't stroke his ego.
So
that's awesome.
But yeah, no. So we got to go up to the new Yankee Stadium, and I got to tell you, it was cool, but it's nothing like the mystique of being at the old place where it just didn't feel.
It's hard to replicate.
It
right?
is because just the history walking into old Yankee Stadium, just really cool.
At least being a Yankee fan, you also hate the Red Sox as do we. So that, I guess enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right.
That's right.
There you go.
That's where we should have used the Best Friends Club because I can't stand the Red Sox, but that's all right. That's another story. So,
all right, let's talk some whiskey.
Anyway, so yeah, we're going to talk some whiskey tonight. I think the story of Wyoming whiskey is fantastic. It's really cool. For those of you who don't know where it's located, so this is located in. Let's put this in perspective. We live in a small town outside of Baltimore of about 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Kirby is in Wyoming. I believe the census said around 75 people in the town of Kirby. Is that correct? Is that correct, David?
It depends. 92, I think, is where we're at right now. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, let's say 75.
All right. So either way, we've got that number of people in our neighborhood, let alone the whole town. It's really cool. So
wow.
Needless to say, when you type in TripAdvisor, number one thing to do out in Kirby, Wyoming whiskey comes up number 3. No, I'm kidding. Number 1. It comes up number 1. That's a little joke, David.
There you go.
So, yeah, and actually, I saw the pictures of the facility. It looks absolutely gorgeous. So we'll put the camera on you, not to make you nervous, but if you want to tell us a little bit of the backdrop, just kind of tell us a little bit about Wyoming, where it was, where it is, where it's going, and then we'll get into all the fun stuff.
Okay. I'm bigger now.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that.
We gave the big time.
First off, you're looking at not a historic, but an incredible snow year here. I'm in Jackson, Wyoming. I'm a skier. That's what brought me to Wyoming. This has been one of those years that you just can't ask for any more. It's never gotten warm. So the snow has stayed light and soft all season. Wow. So
we have had zero snow here in the Mid-Atlantic. So that's funny. I wonder how that works. So cool.
And I know the Northeast is getting hammered tonight, which they are. So it's been a fantastic year for all the West. We're in a severe drought, and this goes a long way to helping everything out. So that's great. That's great news. That's why I got here. I came here to ski what I considered to be the best ski resort in the country. I never left. I did go back to law school. Not far from you guys at Catholic University.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Then got very lucky and met the Meade family. Worked in their law firm for 3 years. They also were cattle ranchers, 4th generation. And after I went out on my own and started my own firm, they called me in June of 2006 and said, hey, we have a proposal for you. And I walked over to the office, which is this old, very creaky building, which there aren't many of them in Jackson. It's a very new city town. And my Catholic guilt is killing me. I'm sitting in Brad's office waiting for Kate to come. And, what? And she comes in, closes the door. They both look at me and I'm just screaming now. And I say, what? And they go, we've decided we want to make bourbon.
Oh.
And I probably made that exact sound. Like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, right.
So I said, are you serious? They're like, yeah. I said, well, how the hell do you make bourbon? I'm like, that's for you to figure out. So that's how it's
right. There you go. And the rest is history. But yeah,
now, mind you, this is in June of 2006. There was no craft spirits anywhere.
Wow.
I mean, Blanton's was your option, or the Beam lineup was your lineup. And so it was a road that I'd never been down. There was no road really. It was, you just have to trailblaze it. And I did what I think anybody in my position would have done is, we went to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. I actually lived in Kentucky for about 7 years during middle school and up to sophomore year in high school. So I'm at least familiar with the bourbon culture. I drank a lot of Jack and Coke in college, and went to a bunch of rock concerts, which I know we'll get into at some point.
Heck yeah, that's right. Love that.
But, we went down there and we were very lucky to be linked up with Lincoln Henderson, who was a legend, sorry. And he is one of the finest gentlemen I've ever met. He's the embodiment of the Kentucky gentleman. He just was fantastic. So he was great. Introduced us to Vendome Copper and Brass. Turns out I went to school with the guy I was working with there, and he has been a friend for a long time, and I've fished in his pond and in Kentucky. Anyway, so that was great. He introduces us then. Ultimately, I said, hey, Rob, we need a distiller. He goes, what do you mean you need a distiller? I was like, well, who's going to run that still that you're building for us? I'm an English major and a lawyer. I'm not. So he turns me on to Steve Nally about a month later. And that was really, really lucky because distillers of that pedigree don't grow on trees. And so we got lined up with some really good people in the beginning, and that got us off to the races.
Yeah, how hard was that to get Steve Nally in the fold and out to Wyoming, coming from where he was from? And I mean, what was the jump there? So how did you sell him to come and help you start this brand and this new venture?
I don't want to sound glib at all, but it was easy. And I'll tell you why.
I like that.
He had retired after 33 years at Makers, 2 years before. He was driving a grain truck. And I don't know if he had a non-compete for 2 years or whatever, but there was something that triggered his desire to get back into the game. And I called him on the right day. I called his house. Donna answered, his wife, who ran the retail program for Makers. And she ended up interviewing me for about 20 minutes to make me that I was for real.
Yeah.
Then after all of that, and I passed the Donna test, she then gave me Steve's cell phone number. I called him, left a message, and then when he got home, he was holding his cell phone up with a 307 area code number, and she's like, I talked to him. And they were just excited. They'd been to Wyoming before. I think they were out here for an anniversary, and they were pumped for the opportunity. I think that's fair. I think they'd agree with me on that.
That's great.
That's really cool. We actually have one of our patrons, so they got to meet Steve out at Bardstown last summer. A really nice guy, which is cool. And I mean, being modest, he's a Bourbon Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had some pedigree coming in there after leaving Maker's Mark and coming in. The other thing that I think was cool was when you guys started out, it was not let's go smaller barrels and let's make this thing quick and expedite. You went the old traditional route. You're going to take your time. You're going to wait, even to the point of having some hiccups along the road, but learning from that. I think it's a really cool story about how you wanted to do everything the right way from the onset.
Steve's a traditionalist.
Yeah.
And we weren't trying to recreate the wheel. We had the full capitalization from the Mead family. We didn't need to get anything out right away. We didn't need to rush anything. That said, Lincoln Henderson was a champion of accelerated maturation techniques. And he was convinced that someday he was going to figure out how to make a fantastic whiskey in a year.
Right.
And he never got there, in my opinion. We had an accelerated maturation room where we took some barrels in the middle of the winter. And I don't know is it Boyle's law about when you heat something up, it expands? Well, Steve, at my insistence, put 20 barrels in there, and the internal barrel temperature was probably around 25 degrees.
Jeez.
And he put it in there and he jacked it up to 130.
Oh, jeez. What did that? Okay. And the result was?
Almost catastrophic loss.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Barrel heads popped, all that. But we saved about 8 or 9 barrels. He patched them up after he gave me a good tongue lashing on why we shouldn't have never done this. And 2 of them ended up being our barrel strength. The first 2 barrels of barrel strength we've ever introduced.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
442 and 443. And one of them was named by Lou Bryson as being one of the top 10 whiskeys in the world.
I mean,
in 2015.
Are there any bottles of that still around somewhere? That's the question. Are there any bottles of that somewhere on the shelf? Oh, there you go. Okay, there you go.
That's awesome. Well, the cool thing is too. So we're going to go through some offerings tonight with you, but every one of these bottles has a really unique, fun story attached to it as well. So when we talk about the original and kind of the 88 and the 44, then you've got the single barrel, which has another unique tie. I think the Outrider story is fantastic.
Yeah,
that's hysterical. So that each one of them has a really fun, unique story as well.
Let's talk about the small batch. So this is what we're sipping on now, guys. All super chats tonight will get 2-ounce samples of each one of these, and we've even got the 10-year here, which for right now is one of my favorite whiskeys of the year, by the way. But we've got a whole lineup plus swag from Wyoming, so that's what that'll go for tonight.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the small batch. Andy, 88 proof. I think it drinks in a good way bigger than that proof, which I think is really a testament to this whiskey. David, I mean, what do you think about this one?
First off, 88 proof was selected because I asked Steve, where do you want to put this 68% corn, 20% wheat, 12% barley, all non-GMO, by the way.
Yep.
I said, what proof point do you want to land this at? And he said, somewhere between 85 and 90. And I just instinctively said, well, I graduated high school in 88. Let's go 88. He said, all right, that sounds good. That works for me.
Plan.
It was, that was it. And when I got to figuring out all the regulations regarding the labels, you see that the only thing you have to put on the label is the ABV.
Yeah.
Cut it in half, go to 44. Wyoming's the 44th state admitted to the union.
Perfect.
So there's a little backstory on that.
Look at the story behind that.
I love
That's
that
a cool story. But again, I think, the beauty about this whiskey, it's I think a great everyday sipper. I think it was one of the first whiskeys, David, that we actually reviewed as a channel. We started this channel as we were home brewers. So we got we started doing home brewing, and we were doing videos on that. And after you do a home brew, what do we do, about 30 home brews and videotape that? It kind of gets monotonous. And you're like, well, we went into beers. Then we started drinking barrel-aged beers, and we started loving the barrel influence on these barrel-aged stouts that we're doing. So Andy said, well, let's drink the whiskey. It's a slippery slope. Yep. And I was, at first, my palate wasn't there. I didn't love it. I was a beer drinker all my life. And Andy started really getting into it. And he said, well, we need to be soft. Let's start out not with Old Granddad 114. Which was his first sip, which was just priceless. By crushed
the way.
Me. The Larceny small batch, and this was one of the first ones. I really would love that. He's like, well, okay, that's a nice weeder. Let's try this Wyoming whiskey. I'll never forget. And I was like, I love this. So that my profile started going to that. Now I'm what Nancy Fraley called a proof whore. So now I like the higher proofs, but it just shows you. I'll have a fondness in this. This is one of the first whiskeys we reviewed on this channel, which I think is really cool.
It came about pretty simply. Brad and I had always consumed bourbons for like birthdays and holidays and barbecues and whatnot. We both had that shared appreciation, and we always seemed to gravitate towards wheated bourbons. And we didn't even know that we were doing that. Yeah. I don't think we ever asked what the damn mash bill was of anything we ever consumed, but we just naturally went in that direction, and it was pointed out to us by somebody. And then turns out we get Steve Nally from one of the best weeded bourbons ever made. And so we ended up with the mash bill that I just said before, 68, 2012. And it's very similar to Makers.
Yeah.
But obviously the yeast is something that's very proprietary. Yep. We don't really guard it that closely. We've never ever said hide it. And I'll tell you, we use two yeasts. We use one that's a real high yield, generally available yeast. And the other one is a white wine vintner's yeast.
That's interesting. You mentioned yeast. In the whiskey world, I don't think a lot of people, at least in our whiskey too, they don't talk a lot about, we talk about the mash bill, the age statement, the barrels, where it's being, where it's being sourced or where it's being distilled. Not a lot of people talk about the yeast that's used. That in brewing, it's exact opposite.
It's quintessential because it really will dictate the flavor profile of what you're doing.
Exactly. So that's the funny thing. When we come over from brewing beer, yeast is such an integral component of, depending on what you're using and what temperature you're at, what the flavor of the beer is. It doesn't seem to be spoken much about. I know it's extremely important in the process, but we don't really talk about the yeast that's used in the distill or the making and mashing of all these wonderful whiskeys. I
think, and Nancy could weigh in on this heavily too. I know you're watching, Nancy. I always love hearing that.
Yeah.
It's very, Lincoln Henderson once said to me, he says, the flavor wheel of bourbon is pretty simple. He goes, 10% is the ingredients, 30% is the yeast, and 60% is the maturation process. And 30% is a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. A lot.
Sure is.
And so we had 8 different yeasts, none of which were proprietary to Makers or anything like that. But Lincoln suggested about 3, I think. Steve could correct me on that. And Steve had his own 5 from different people. I never asked where he got them from. And he ended up landing on this generally available one, made on, by the way, an old moonshiner's still.
Oh, geez.
That we found in the backyard of Kelly, Wyoming. Buddy of mine's dad had it, who's Scottish. And he said, yeah, this is the real deal, and it had holes in it, so we had to patch it up. But that's what we did our testing on. And then Lincoln's yeast, the white wine yeast, that really changed everything for the product.
Got it.
We had only used one yeast for the first 600 barrels. And then after that, we added that in, and we pitched them at the same time.
Okay.
And this yeast, the white wine vintner, it was a much fruitier yield.
Yeah, makes complete sense. Yeah.
So anyway, I could go on. I could dork out on all this stuff.
No, that's for us. Yeah, we love that too.
It does. It kind of brings us back to the homebrewing days because I mean, it would completely. We would do that. We actually would do two of the same mash bills.
Yep.
Same spots where we're dropping the hops in the boil. And then at the end, we would basically just say, all right, you do this yeast, I'll do this one. We'll see what we come up with. And just completely different.
And see how different the flavor profile is between the two. And they're completely different.
Yeah, so it's amazing. It's neat to see how that translates into whiskey as well, because the flavors aren't as absurd as you get in beers, which is kind of neat.
Real quick, Dave, Nancy's in the chat. She said we were talking about those honey barrels. That she still has 2 of those barrel strength bottles left, and she tries to keep them untouched as much as possible. I thought that was funny that she chimed in there.
If there is a bottle of bourbon that I hold most dear, well, there'll be 2. Batch 1, which was the first thing we rolled out, which for quality purposes, it's not why it was batch 1. But I think the most important whiskey we ever released was that barrel 442 or 443, because we had never received any real attention.
And that did it. That did it.
It was amazing. Like when Nancy pointed out to me, oh, this is what's called a single barrel. You know,
right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
You don't batch this, you know, and I, as soon as I sipped on it, okay, yeah, I get it. And it was a moment for us.
You know, it's, well, you know, we just started sipping maybe a little preemptively.
Well, let's go to the single barrel.
Do you want to?
Let's move to the
do you want to touch on? Are we good on the small batch?
I love the small batch. I love the classic flavors. Yeah. It gets a raisiny. I love the mouthfeel for 80. I would never, if you blinded this, say this was an 88 proof. It's viscous. It coats your mouth. I love how it drinks. It drinks much bigger than an 88 proof, and I think that's the beauty of it. And the flavor profile is fantastic too. What do you think?
This was always one of my favorites, and it was funny because I bought this bottle today because I told Todd, I said, yeah, we've got all of them. I said, we've got, you know, the single barrel, and we got the outrider, we got the 10-year, we got the double cask. And I said, I don't know where the heck
you drank it all.
I was like, crap.
We had to go buy one.
I am pretty sure I am stock out. So I know I've had a couple of the Wyoming. Yeah. So it's just it's very versatile. It's a good everyday sipper.
Yep.
You can drink it neat, you can mix it. Yeah. It's
batch number 88.
Okay.
88. So
each of those batches is made from 45-ish barrels. Nancy will select.
That's awesome. That's
something right around that number. Plus our tanks hold up to about 50. So she will build that in a pyramid. Nancy, I'm going to do my best here to explain this, but she will build. We have 3 flavor profiles in our rick houses. A is our base flavor profile: caramel, orange, vanilla. That's the first 3-ish ricks, maybe 4. And then our B flavor profile is a little more complicated, starts to get nuttiness into it and whatnot. And then the top rick is the spice, the allspice, the cinnamon, etc. So just like a pyramid, you know, we have the base is the A profile, lesser of the B, and then just a few barrels of C.
Okay.
So that's the pattern. That's how it's built.
Got it.
And Nancy brought that level of sophistication to us that we didn't have previously.
Got it.
Very cool. Speaking of, where is the rick house in Kirby, or do you have it outside of Kirby? Because is everything there?
Yeah.
Okay. Very, very cool. Yeah, we had Brandon on last week. It's still Austin, so small, and obviously you didn't have none. They're growing. So, what do you say about 30 miles?
30 miles outside of Austin,
outside of Austin, they have the rick house.
Yeah.
So, but this
single barrel.
This single barrel, I found this completely by accident.
I've never had this one,
and I fell in love with this. And this is another one that I've tried not to drink too much of because I've never seen it out in the wild since. So we're giving this away tonight too, guys. So for your super chats, you'll get to try this as well.
What's everybody in the chat? Are you drinking any Wyoming whiskey? I know Saucy Shane. I know he's got some Wyoming whiskey.
Someone else was drinking the Outrider.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah, which we'll be getting to next. Yeah, pour yourself a little.
I am going to pour. So single barrels again. I guess is Nancy coming out there and selecting these single barrels that go to market, or how's that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Nancy's champion. She has been a champion for us. She has changed, like I said, our level of sophistication on a number of different fronts, and has really brought us to a different level entirely as far as the quality of the whiskeys that we release. So yes, she's involved in everything that we do. Single barrel. Like I said, literally, she said, David, these are barrels that you don't mix with anything else.
Right.
We got to come up with a new label here. And in my opinion, that's my favorite label.
I love this one. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a leather look and feel to it. It's just
it does have a little Scream Wyoming, like little big, big sky country look to it, doesn't it? That's really cool.
That's the Grand Teton in the background. That's the Teton Mountain Range, elevating it from with the foothills that you'll see in the background of the first label.
Yeah.
But yeah, these barrels, if I had to pick one thing, I want to make sure I'm confident in this. If I had to pick one bourbon of ours that we release, if I could select the barrel, that would be it.
That would be it.
That's it.
That's it.
I have a batched flavor profile that I really like too, but our single barrels, if you can get your hand on a barrel of that, it's going to be excellent. And then it just depends on whether or not your particular flavor profile is going to match up.
So this barrel number is 4496. Again, don't know what that means in terms of where it's located, but the barrel number was 4496.
5. Did I hear a 9 in there?
A 5-year.
Yeah, 5-year. This was actually sitting on the shelf. Where? And it looked at a place, in a little place in Bel Air that I went in, and
I've never seen.
Sometimes you go to those liquor stores where they don't realize what they have in. And they probably just threw it up with everything else.
Yep.
And I said, "Well,
$65.
Yeah,
$65. Yeah, heck yeah. So
that's $100 bottle.
Yeah,
I did not pay $100.
$65 you got it for.
Yeah, you nailed it. And then not all of those are 5 years. There are some that are older. Some could be 6. Some could be 7. We didn't want to get into that level of personalization just because we don't have the bandwidth for it. We don't have that many employees to be doing it on everything we do.
Much darker profile in this compared to the small batch. I mean, I know it's a different,
but it's rich,
much richer,
creamy.
Yes,
caramel notes
dark
on there.
Notes, more dark notes. I get more dark notes too, dark fruits. Whereas this is more light, sort of effervescent. Not effervescent, but more light fruits. Maybe even the apple with the caramel. This is more of a dark fruit flavor profile. Even more of an oakiness to it too as well. I know they're both 5 years, but for me, it's just a darker profile. Still, both of them very creamy. I think, what is this, 96 proof? So we're only up 8 points in proof. Yeah, wow, that's amazing. That's such a good pour. How did you stop it halfway? That's what I want to know.
Well, because sometimes when you have a good bottle, and then when you get to a certain point, like I can't drink anymore because I'm not going to find it again. So you kind of like just mentally cut yourself off and say like it's time to find a new bottle. So I haven't had this in probably a good year and a half because I haven't wanted to. I knew I couldn't replace it, so I'm glad we're bringing it back out tonight.
I'm reading not a bad move because it's rare. We're only finding 12 to 25 barrels a year.
Oh wow!
We don't have a quota. It's not like Nancy find 100 of them. It's Nancy tells us what qualifies for the program.
So I mean, if she finds more, that's great, but there's no quota. If she finds, hey, there's 40 that should be single barrels, that means we have more single barrels in production. But if she only finds 20, that's what you got, right? I mean, it's up to the Nancy's discretion, I assume is what you're saying.
Yep, 100%.
And that keeps the quality. That's why when you see it's a single barrel, it's one, going to be really good because 2, it's also coming from Nancy's palate. I mean, I hate to say it, but yeah.
Well, she's gifted. And I think that's one of the things it's really good to, what's that old Lou Holtz philosophy, right? The head coach is successful because you surround yourself with people smarter than you in every area. So,
I nailed it.
I actually text Nancy, said, be nice to Todd and just put down darker profile because it's just, so that's all right.
Makes me feel good.
Well, you should, buddy.
Anyway, it's what you taste, right? You taste what you taste. Who knows? I mean, listen, somebody might get something different, but that's what I got. And the dark milk chocolate, that's also there too. I love the single barrel. Wow, that's the first time I've had it. Very nice. All right, that's a good question.
Let's ask him a question.
Let's liven it up a little bit.
Start off with an easy one.
Okay.
I always like to do this with people that we have on because you're connected to Wyoming Whiskey and you're passionate. There is no Wyoming Whiskey at the bar that you're at, and you have to grab a drink. What whiskey are you reaching for? I would love to know what's your go-to if Wyoming Whiskey is not available on the shelf.
That's a tough question.
Can I name 2?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
4 Roses, small batch.
Yep, that's a good pour.
Yep.
And an Old Forester something. I really enjoyed the Old Forester as well. But if it was available, which I know it's not, the best pour I've ever had in my life, without question, was a black wax, black label, Maker's Mark, only available in Japan, bottled at 96 proof. Steve Nally gave me 2 bottles because he was the man. And if I could, I might cut off a digit
to get another bottle. That's how good it is.
It was like tasting. It was like drinking liquid velvet.
Oh
That's
I like that. I like hearing liquid velvet.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I want some of that.
That'd be awesome. Robert Shea goes 21090 barrel pick.
Well, we want to go to Wyoming. Yeah, well, I think you're
invited. By the way, I was told. Yeah, you're invited.
There you go. There it is. So
Fantastic.
Patrons, if you want to, let's do it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Andy wants to go out to Wyoming so bad. Now you have a reason.
Now, are you Jackson and Jackson Hole? Are they
same
thing? Okay, all right.
The town is Jackson.
If you were to fly to go to Kirby, though, where's the best place to fly into? The closest?
Cody.
I don't know. Cody. Oh.
Yeah. Cody is exactly 82 miles from the distillery. So
all right.
flying to Cody, get some lunch. There's only 2 flights a day, and you drive 82 miles through high plains with some mountains, antelope, sage, etc., and then you get to the distillery.
That's amazing. That sounds like the best.
That's why Nikki Sixx moved out there. He had to clear his head from the California nonsense. He moved out, took his family, went out to Wyoming, and
real quick, Nancy's just chiming in about that quota on the thing. Absolutely, thank God there are no quotas on the single barrels. They're just what they are, and when they're available in stock, we praise them. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what's so cool about that.
Turn it on a different light. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. I mean, that's what I think is so cool because there's so many places putting out single barrels now, and it's just like, is it good? I don't know what's better. Then that this is special because one, it's just there's a process that it goes through to make sure it hits the shelves, and it's just not anything that they put out.
That I love. William Hall said we can use the private jet to land directly in Jackson if you have the means.
Oh,
I don't. Todd does. Todd, we call him top shelf Todd, David, because he gets all the big.
Use our private jet. My private jet would be out of commission right now, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
What private jet are you talking about, William? I can afford Escape outside. Okay, come on. Jeez Louise. Anyway, all right. So that's really interesting about the single barrel. I think it's great. I want to move on to. Well, do you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
So before we move on,
yes.
I love the story of the outrider. So I got to do a little reading on this. And so if we're being blunt, if you could tell the story of how it came about and the love or not so much love affair with Rye and Steve, I got to know, were you a little bit pissed off?
Yeah. It seems like
furious.
There you go. Okay. All right. I would be so pissed off.
I mean,
tell the story. This story is gold. This story is gold.
The goal was to make a rye. I mean, one of my many jobs was to keep a finger on the pulses of what was going to be happening in the market. Right. And I think it was one of the Shanken publications that showed that there was a blip on the radar in the rye world. And rye, as you know, had been treated as just swill for so long. Yeah. And so I approached Steve and I said, hey, man, we just started making our bourbon, right? So we made it for about a year. No, excuse me. We turned the still on July of 2009, and we made the first outrider in November, December of 2011. So, but right when we started making it, I said, we should make rye. And he goes, I don't want to make rye. I go, why? He goes, rye sucks.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter what you think or what I think, but the consumer and the American public is starting to drink rye again. And we got to grow our rye.
Steve.
We got to ferment it. We got to age it. We should get started on this. He goes, I don't want to make rye. So I did what anybody in my position would do. And I went to my partner, Brad, who's my boss. And I said, we need to do this. And it took about a month just wearing out his door. Like, hey, we got to do this. And he finally relented and said, okay, fine. I'll tell Steve to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as Nancy's saying, this is her favorite. So, and the beauty, anyway. So he called Steve, said, Steve, we're going to do this. Steve was pissed. Oh. And, you don't tell a 6'4" whiskey Hall of Fame or bourbon Hall of Famer what to do,
No. Yeah.
So he let me hear it in some choice words that how mad he was at me. And so I was like, Steve, I'm sorry, man. It's the right decision. I'm telling you, this is the right call. We got to do this. We can't be a one-trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
We're not makers, which is not a criticism or a compliment. We're just not makers.
Right.
And I respect Maker's Mark, and with the Samuels family did more than almost anybody, if not everybody. But so I said, hey, we got to do it. So we get to making it. No, hold on. Let me back up. We talked to our grain grower, Brent. Brent said, yeah, no problem. We'll grow rye. He plants the rye. It's always winter rye or winter wheat out here, which we could get.
So you guys, grain to glass, it's all Wyoming, each your own stuff. You're not bringing that in. That's all from you guys are growing. That's great too. Cool.
Yep. So we make it, and Steve's so dramatic over this entire thing, right? He's so mad. And he said, all right, fine, I'm going to make it, but I'm going to make it in November and December before we clean the entire system because it's going to foul the equipment, right? And I'm thinking
it sound like demon juice.
Impossible, but so he does it. He makes 100 barrels of rye and he makes 200 barrels of bourbon with rye as the flavoring grain as opposed to wheat. So 68, 2012, but 20 is the rye. So it's done. He cleans the system, he does all that. And then about 3 years later, he leaves, goes back to Kentucky, has to get back to family. And I get it. I understood the dynamics. It was a little sudden, but it was totally understandable. And he left us with these barrels, and no one had tried them. They had kind of become this bastard group of barrels in the southwest corner where
no one's paying attention to them.
Yeah, we just forgot about. I didn't forget about him, but everybody else. So with Nancy, so our new distiller comes in, Sam Mead, Brad's son, and we hired Nancy right away because we knew we needed that talent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked Nancy, would you mind trying both of those whiskeys and just let me know? And I was expecting her to say that they were trash.
Oh.
So she called me the next day and said, hey, you're not going to believe this, but that rye is some of the best young rye I've ever tried. And then
at that point, what do you say? Thank you, or oh my God, thank you.
no shit.
Okay.
Really?
Thank you. No shit. Yeah.
So and I said, how about the bourbon? And she said, it's also very good, but the rye is going to come along more quickly than the bourbon. So bourbon's going to need a little more time, but she says it's also very good. All right, we'll keep our eye on it. So the next year she comes out, tries it, and says it's ready. And we could talk about this as much as you want. We own it. Our first bourbon was released too young.
Yep.
And so we learned a very valuable lesson from that. And so I said, hey, we're not going to release this until it's 5 years old. That was our bottom. And so it'll give us a year to come up with a name, a label, all of that stuff we need to do, all the regulatory stuff. So she comes back out. No. So as soon as that happens, I asked Sam, I was like, hey, as I get moving on this, what's the mash bill of the rye? And he said, you're not going to believe it, but it's only 48% rye, 40% corn, 12% barley. I was like, do the math again. You screwed this up somehow. He goes, I've done it 6 times.
It's not a rye.
He goes, do you want me to tell you it's a rye?
I could only imagine how furious so for those of you who just in case you don't know, to be a rye, it's got to be at least 51% rye. So that slight adjustment there where Steve was like, we're just to make sure it gets close, kissing a rye, but it's not a rye, was enough to make sure that rye didn't want to make. He didn't have to make.
Yes. So and that jumps to the punchline, which is, the middle part is we panic.
Yeah.
What do we do with this? We don't have a rye anymore. It falls into the very nondescript, unsexy category of straight American whiskey. Right.
Oh, wow.
And our naming strategy, as you probably recognize, is boring. Small batch, single barrel.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Double cask.
It's
barrel strength.
Yeah.
These are like generic terms, but it's kind of the culture of Wyoming. It's kind of the culture of the Mead family.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing snazzy. Let's get it done.
Sure.
Let's get it right. So we couldn't do that with this. So I tried to call it the bastard batch.
Oh.
Kate said, over my dead body, are we putting a curse word on the bottle?
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And then there were no options. Like no one was coming up with anything. So I called Steve for inspiration, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, probably, at that point, 4+ years. And so he said, I said, hey, how you doing? And we're laughing about stuff, catching up. And finally I get to the point, like, hey man, I want you to know that rye you made is spectacular. Like, and you can hear his voice. I don't know if you ever talked to him, but he's got this very Southern gentleman, medium depth voice. You know, it's very soft, but commanding. And he's, you know, I'm really happy for you. I said, but man, why'd you only use 48% rye? He goes, because I told you I didn't want to make rye.
Oh no. And what did you say to that?
Nothing. I was speechless. I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? So the conversation ended shortly after that because I was furious. Like, you've blown our entire reason for making this stuff, right?
Right.
So luckily we have somebody like Nancy on board who knows how to solve problems when it comes to this. And she said, well, why don't we stretch the soup? I don't think that was her term, my term, but she's like, what we'll do is we'll blend the bourbon with the rye and we will make more of it because it's so good. You need to stretch this out over years of time. So the first batch was a 2-to-1 blend where it was 2 barrels of the bourbon to 1 of the almost rye we were calling it. And so it was 66 barrels in the first batch. And then each year after that, Nancy just, you know, took the liberty of deciding which barrels from each pod, you know, would go into it. So it would vary a little bit, but overall that was.
So the mash bill for everybody out there to know the 2 blends. So the rye is what we said, the 48 rye, 40% corn, 12% malted barley. And then the bourbon is 68 corn, 20% rye, and 12% malted barley. So that's what we got for those 2 batches.
Yep.
By the way, that's silly good.
I mean, what I got last night, and I love the profile. It's like a spiced coffee cake to me that I get. I just like, I love that sort of spiciness with the coffee cake, like that sort of sweet bread. I love it. I love everything about this whiskey.
Well,
everything.
Well, look, we're from Maryland and Baltimore, so we like rye out here because you know Maryland was a gigantic rye state pre-prohibition. We were right up there with Kentucky. So we are partial to our rye, and so I love a good rye spice in a whiskey. This is fantastic. It's got a nice little bite on the back end. I think the proof point is perfect in this.
It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's like candy to me. I mean, I could drink this to the cows come home. I love that you still get the rye spice. And I know it's not a rye, but there's a lot of rye in there. And it's amazing what Nancy could do to make this such a good whiskey. And I hope more people get to try this.
Yeah.
Because,
you will.
It's amazing.
Perfect.
You will.
Right?
So sorry for interrupting, but when we entered into our partnership with Edrington, they saw the value in this product. And so they said, you know, let's make more of this. So looking, you know, Edrington thinks generationally. They own Macallan, they own Glenrothes, Highland Park. So we had been looking 5 years out. They look generationally, like I said. So like, let's start laying down a lot more of it. So you'll see more of this coming out in about a year and a half or so.
I like it. I can wait. I mean, I'll just sip on this for a little longer and not give it any to Andy. How's that?
That's fine because you won't touch a single barrel.
All right, we'll trade off.
There's none of that available. Period.
Right.
So that's
there you go.
That's fair enough.
All right, there you go.
No, this is absolutely beautiful. I thought the story was just funny. I mean, I could see being pissed off. I could see that. But at the end of the day,
so hold on. Question for you.
Like
so Nancy comes in and she then, to finish the story, I guess she gets a hold of these 2 batches and plays with them and finds out and says this can work, right? I mean, we can make something really nice out of this. And and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, Brad came up with the name Outrider.
Okay. Love it.
When you move cattle, there are certain riders that ride the flanks because there's always going to be a calf that's going to squirt out or a cow or something, and you got to keep them with the herd. We looked at these. He thought that this was pretty analogous, that these barrels were like that. They kind of squirted away from the herd. They were not what we intended. Let's bring them back in. So hence the Outrider, and Outrider spelled with an I, but we use the Y to hint at
rye.
See, that's cool.
The rye.
I love it.
I love it.
There you go.
See creativity in there. That's really cool.
And
by the way, oh, sorry, go ahead, David.
You mentioned the 100 proof. This has been a bonded product until the last 2 years.
Okay.
The only reason it's not is because we were running out of the first stuff and we started making it again back in 17, 16, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So we were using the younger juice and the older juice. So 4 different whiskeys
Got it.
going into it. this year we're going back to single season, and we'll probably, I can't say for certain, Nancy's going to have to weigh in on this, and Edrington and everything, but it'll probably be a bonded product again.
Okay, that's really cool. It's great.
So you are going to be able to, again, you're going to get some Wyoming swag tonight, which is really cool. And you're going to get a pour of the small batch, the single barrel, the outrider, the 10-year, which is breaking our hearts to have to give some of the 10-year away, and the double cask, which is almost gone, which is fantastic too. So we want as we give everybody a proper thank you for all the super chats. We appreciate it. So thank you.
All right, Nady, I think it's we're getting to the midway point now. We haven't talked any rock and roll.
Well, I was going to say there's a good segment because we just there's Joe Elliott, the very young Joe Elliott, saying thank you. So, David, any good concerts you've seen lately that you may want to talk about?
Lately, so I love stadium shows.
Yes.
Living in Jackson, Wyoming, I live here for a reason. Obviously, I love the outdoors. I hunt, I fish. I used to be a whitewater rafting guide. I ski. I do all that, and all that stuff is incredible. But you don't get a lot of the big energy events that you get in cities.
Right.
You don't get a baseball game crowd, just going nuts when you hit a home run. You don't get Def Leppard playing here at Mangy Moose.
Which would be cool though.
But you get that when you go to Denver and you see Motley Crue and Def Leppard and Poison on a beautiful late summer night. And Nikki Sixx gave a bunch of people in Jackson, a friend of mine takes them fishing all the time.
Yeah.
So we got really good seats, like 15th row.
That's cool.
And it was awesome.
How cool was that? Yes.
That is really cool. So yeah, we saw them in DC.
Yep. We had second row seats, luckily.
Yeah.
Awesome.
My sister, God bless her, for Christmas, she got me 2 tickets to the show, and they're up in the nosebleeds. And I was like, "Yeah, these are just trade-in.
We're gonna trade these in.
We're selling these puppies, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull a little some extra. And we're gonna get close." So she's like, "I don't remember getting a seat second." I was like, "Well, they weren't really that good." But yeah, it was fantastic, and we were at National Stadium, completely sold out, looking around, and just
it poured down rain on us.
Yeah,
poured down rain.
Mm-hmm.
Which was fun,
which
in a different way.
Which Vince Neil, didn't need to be covered and soaking wet anyway. But other than that, I mean, it was a killer show. We loved it. So got a couple picks. So you got one too, yeah? You got one of the Nikki Sixx picks, or
we got?
No, I didn't. No,
oh,
we'll give you one.
We'll send you one if you want.
When we come out though, we'll bring him a nice Nikki Sixx.
All right,
there it is.
He says we, but Todd's not allowed out of a 15-mile radius.
Oh, I'm coming to Wyoming.
So.
Not dead yet. There it is.
We'll see. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So that's so let's stay music for a second.
Okay.
I always like doing that. We asked this question, but name the best concert that you've ever been to, and then one that you wish you could have seen. They can be dead, alive, whatever, but the best you've seen and the best, or the one you wish you could see.
Ooh.
Bruce Springsteen, 1985 or 86, Born in the USA tour, Freedom Hall, Louisville, Kentucky.
Wow. No hesitation.
No hesitation. Right. I've got,
I was 15 years old and I'd never experienced anything like that in my life.
Born in the USA tour? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has a way of touching every person in the crowd to where you feel like he's talking to you. He talked to me because I was born on the 4th of July. And he mentions that when he's talking, in the middle of this 5-hour concert, and we all screamed. There were like 10 of us in the entire, arena.
Yeah.
Like, that was a connection there, even though there wasn't, and it was just I'll never forget that because he's not my favorite artist, not even close, but that was the best concert I've ever seen. And then what would I like to have seen? I would have really loved to have seen Led Zeppelin.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yes.
If I was old enough. When they were touring, that would have been
epic.
I always say this to David is Queen. Back in the day, I would love to seen Queen in there. Hey, Freddie Mercury just belting out that with Brad May.
Well, actually, for the short time they were with us, because Nancy actually just wrote, "Hey, David, my sort of apologies for asking this publicly, but any chance that I could do a very small single barrel Wyoming whiskey bourbon tribute to Wyoming resident and Leonard Skinner icon Gary Ross? We just lost him, and talk about a band that would have been cool to see.
Yes.
Before all the tragedy unfolded. That's another one that would have been really really cool to see. So Gary just passed away
this past week
ago.
Yes.
Yeah. So
last remaining. So yeah, there it is. So hopefully maybe that'll work out.
I saw The Boss twice.
Did you really?
I did. The first time I actually saw it with another patron of ours, John Coppola. We actually we played hooky from high school.
There you go.
And we went to Taco Bell.
Andy, you went to a Catholic school.
Well, that's fine.
We both did. I went to the same school as you. I didn't play hooky.
I apologize to
you. Didn't include me on this.
I apologize to the big man. But when we went to Taco Bell, 98 Rock was there, and they were giving away tickets, and we ended up winning 2 tickets. He won 2, and I won 2. So we sold 2, and then we ended up going to see Bruce, and he actually was really good. I mean, it was. And the band is pretty darn good too. I mean,
oh yeah.
I mean, having the E Street Band behind it's funny because I don't know. I don't know if you're a Dave Matthews guy or not. Like I saw Dave Matthews. I like their band. I can't stand his voice. Bruce though, he's got a cool rock voice and a cool band to go with it. Like it all kind of worked, which was neat.
Yep.
So yeah, I did play hooky though. So
there you go.
That said, I need to throw out my range when it comes to music here.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
So I Van Halen would be my rock band.
That is
right.
Hold on, no. Is it Hagar? It's got to be.
You're David Lee Roth.
David Lee Roth, of course.
Yeah,
100%. There you go. Andy's a Hagar guy. I always say that to him. He's in the wrong side of the equation.
I like Sammy Hagar.
I have no problem with Sammy Hagar.
Neither do I.
That was a different band.
Exactly.
I mean, they're totally different. David Lee Roth's one of a kind.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
Yeah, I was a David Lee Roth guy, and I saw them a ton. I saw them with Hagar. I've seen it all. Eddie Van Halen's the reason why you go anyway. So
yeah,
that would be that. But I totally own, and I'm not ashamed at all of saying I love female pop vocalists.
Yeah.
And so Taylor Swift.
Oh, we've actually reviewed one of her albums on this channel. Andy's a big Taylor Swift fan.
I love her. I like
his
Taylor.
daughter really loves. I mean, I get it.
You know, actually her 1989 album is fantastic.
It's not bad.
It's really good.
Yeah,
and,
there you go. I like the range on that.
Yep. She's an inspiration as a human being. I think she's just so talented, and she doesn't stand for anything. She's just like, I'm going to make great music, and it's going to be somewhat, I don't know, shallow, simple, fun, uplifting.
Subject Max.
And we're not going to make any type of social statement about it. It's just fun.
I love that. If you want to see something crazy, before Taylor became as gigantic as she is now, it was maybe 10 years ago. She did that Crossroads on VH1 where her and Def Leppard sang together. You can see that.
Yeah.
And it was really, really good. Like it was funny seeing like Joe sing Taylor songs too. But their voices sounded pretty good together. I thought the version they did of Hysteria was just beautiful. It was fantastic. All
right, David. Nancy's not giving up. She says she actually wanted to do a Wyoming Whiskey tribute to Gary Rosington before he died, but now he's gone. It seems poignant, but she will defer to you. So offline, let's see if this happens. And if it does, you heard it here first on our channel. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. All right, I'll leave it be. There you go. Anyway,
you want to sign her in so she could do a tribute right now?
Come on, send Nancy the link if you want. If she wants to pop up, that's fine.
Do you want to? I mean, we can make things happen here very quickly.
If I can't, I don't know what she means. I see the message. I will share the stage with Nancy any day. If she wants to come on for a minute,
I can do it. Nancy, say the word and it'll be sent. So, Andy, let me work on that.
You work on it. And Whiskey Uncensored, no, I did not. I don't know where you got that from. No, Taylor's beautiful.
And there you go.
I love all that. Stevie Nicks.
Stevie Nicks is cool.
She's playing Baltimore with Billy Joel at the Raven Stadium this summer.
See, but I like a little bit of like a raspy voice. Like I love Hart is one of my I listen to Ann Hart sing. She blows me away. Like she's just fantastic. As far as I think she might be my favorite female vocalist because I just as powerful as she is. I think Lizzie Hale's awesome. I think Lizzie's really cool from Hailstorm. And then of course you got your hair bands like Vixen. Yeah, gotta love the girls from Vixen.
Pink.
Oh, she's amazing. Yes, I agree with you. That.
Yeah, she's
great live and yeah, I agree with you on that one. I mean, I love Pink.
Yeah, we could go on and on. Anyway, I don't mean to derail the conversation, but that's
this is usually what we do. We like it. You're taking
yes.
Go ahead and throw it out. That's totally fine. That's awesome. Yeah. God, you know what? You said Queen, right? For the concert, you always
Queen certainly would be for me. I mean, it's a band that Led Zeppelin was another one. I mean, back in the day, Jimi Hendrix, I would have loved to see live.
Really cool. I would love seeing Thin Lizzy. Would have been neat to see. I think that would have been really fun to see.
Yep.
Some of those old. I would have loved to see Bowie back in the day.
Like AC/DC with Bon Scott.
Oh yeah,
that would have been really cool.
Yes, that was the first band I ever saw live. 1992 Razor's Edge tour at the Cap Center in Landover, Maryland. LA Guns opened up, and it was AC/DC, and it blew my mind. I was like 15 years old, and just, can you imagine? Right? I mean, the world was at your hand at that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had to beg my mother to go with you to the Def Leppard concert because she's like, "You're not going to go see that death metal." I was like, "Mom, it's not that bad."
It's not Def, but it's Def Leppard. Mom,
and that's when they played in the round, and I was so hooked. I mean, they came out on those pods, and they're running around 360, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm completely hooked." So
yeah,
that's pretty fun.
Speaking of in the round, I saw you two on their 360 tour.
You have two, haven't you?
I love them.
Yeah.
That's my wife's favorite band, so I've seen them a couple times, and they're fantastic. They're really good.
They're very anthemic, like everything they sing, you want to just like start marching to. Like, all right, who are we gonna go conquer, or whatever.
Well, they're like the exact opposite of like a Taylor Swift, because they are political. They are like Go Save the Rainforest. They are like everything's got a message and is driven, but the music is so good that you're like it's almost like it doesn't matter. You're kind of transported. It was funny. I just read an article a couple days ago that Edge said Bono is such a pain in the ass, and we've all wanted to quit so many times, but the band is just so good we could never leave. But he's driven them to the brink of quitting, like almost like on a yearly basis, and somehow they find a way to survive. So that's
Nancy. I've sent it to your Instagram. I will send it to your email as well. So come join. Let's have a little debate with music. This is not expected.
Nancy said she prefers male vocalist.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. And that's something.
So that's
she has said that.
All right. So speaking of Nancy, well, let's see if she does hop up. But
I'm going to send it to her email
next offering that we have. I don't know if you've got this one with you or not, David, but we got the 10-year.
Oh, tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, if you want to talk to us a little bit about this.
This is just a beautiful consequence of.
It's so good.
Of Outrider. Nancy was always picking different numbers of barrels from each of those two batches, and we ended up with about 23 or 25 barrels of the bourbon left over, right? And that didn't mean it was the bad barrels. It's just from the blends that she had put together, we didn't need those barrels. So
it's so syrupy.
She pulled together about 20 barrels of that for our 10th anniversary edition, which we celebrated our 10th anniversary of our first release. And we had a big party at the Cowboy Bar here in Jackson. It was December 1st, last year, 2022. It was a blizzard, like it has been every night this year. And people made it from around the country, from Scotland, from the other side of town was difficult to get to the Cowboy that night. And we packed the place and just had a fantastic evening. And this is our commemorative bourbon that is not like our regular profile.
Right. It's it's so much more decadent. I mean, it's just
well, you know what I'm going to say? This is a perfect segue because Nancy's nickname is the nose. The nose on this is just so silly good.
And how do you properly nose a
and she did. She gave us a lesson on how to nose.
We were doing it all
really
wrong
cool because we were doing it wrong.
Swirling it, going like this.
So now, David, be on your best behavior because we're going to bring Nancy to hop up and join us. Hey!
Oh, shit.
Nancy, how are you?
Come my Wyoming. I'm choking on some outrider right now.
That's not a good answer, Nancy.
We surprised her.
That's not how we planned it, Nancy. That's so
Sorry
cool.
about that.
No worries. Welcome.
Hey, David, my apologies for interrupting the party, but it's just so much fun.
You're adding to the party.
Exactly. We're grateful to have you here. So Nancy, we're talking about the 10-year. Oh, you have that's
right. That's
I've been putting a hurting on this
just like me
22 Outrider bottle, as you can see right now. So
gentlemen, if I may, she just held up a bottle that has a silver foil. The one that you have is a black foil.
Oh, the Oh,
this
for the
is
10-year?
This is the no on the
outright. Oh.
So that's the black foil. That's from 2022.
Oh, right.
I think Nancy's holding up the 2021.
Yep.
Each label is different. This is one of those secret. If you know, you know.
Well, now everybody knows.
Yes.
For us, at least.
Yep. Every year it's different.
Cool. All right. Okay. I got it. All right. There you go.
We'll learn little nuggets every day. That's really
22.
Cool.
So 23 we'll have it. Okay. Very cool. Nancy, we went by this and it's fantastic. The story behind the Outrider and the fact that you were able to do something with what, Steve kind of did in jest, so to speak, and made something beautiful. And I mean, how happy you must be with this Outrider, not to go back, but.
Yeah. I mean, not to go back too long on that, but as Dave knows, that's been that has been my daily drinker since our very first edition of it. And it's my favorite Wyoming whiskey regular expression. Not introducing the 10-year or anything like that, next to it, but it's been my regular for years, a daily drinker for years. I just love it. And I'm the 2017 bourbon and rye is it's really now coming to life, and I think it's arguably better than the 2011.
Wow.
But just me,
I'll tell you, I have not tried it yet. This was the first night that I had a pour of this, and
quarter of the bottle's gone already.
You've been doing a hurting on this, and it's funny because I saw this about a year and a half ago, and I passed it by.
Dummy.
Well, you think you're going to see things again, and I never have since. So was really stoked to try this. It's a glorious pour. And
let me ask this question to both of you. And again, it's not a rye. There's not a complete rye in the Wyoming whiskey portfolio. So me being someone who loves rye whiskey, will there ever be a Wyoming whiskey rye, David? Will we have that?
I'd say we probably will.
Okay. Good answer. Great.
It's not imminent, but when we started making it in 17, we changed the mash bill ever so slightly to 51% rye.
So it's there. It's there.
Yes.
I gotcha. Perfect.
Yep.
Now, I think it'd be great. There is a demand for rye whiskey is kind of gone off the charts, and the sales continue to climb. So I think people would love it. I think they'd love to try it.
All right, debate on music real quick because Nancy wanted to come up here. We were talking. Nancy was.
Well, first, I think we can do a quick sip
of the 10.
No, a little kind of almost sounds scary.
I'm drinking something you guys don't have.
What is? Legend. What do we got here?
Oh, I'm already jealous.
Powder River.
Oh, Powder River. Oh, I'm going to go get my bottling.
Nancy's got some too, and we don't. Dang it.
Now you guys are just showing off.
Now they're just showing off. No.
I had to put it in your face somehow. I mean.
That's exactly. Well, see, Andy, when we come out there, we can try some of this great stuff. That's the thing.
Sounds like a plan.
So what is that? What is this you're drinking? The powder. What is this? Tell everybody what this is.
We do a Wyoming only release every year. It started the year of the eclipse, and we did a special eclipse release. And over the years, we have refined the flavor profile. In the beginning, before Nancy's involvement, I tried to put it in a direction of, no, she was involved. I apologize. It was a lighter. I wanted to go lighter with the bourbon because I was trying to take over Wyoming's Canadian whiskey drinker. I was trying to bring them into the brand with something that would be more approachable than bourbon, which was a mistake. It was a bad idea as I look back on it. The year later, we did Steamboat, which started the shift over to what it is now, but still very far from what this is. And then the year after that, we did Statesman, which was a tribute to Brad Mead's grandfather, who was a 2-term U.S. senator and governor, and was really he's an icon and a legend from the state. So we did that. And ever since then, and Statesman might be the best batched bourbon we've ever made.
That's cool.
That's cool. Opinion. Yeah.
Which is, again, tribute to Nancy. But each year we do something different. And the theme is an iconic person, place, or thing that's uniquely Wyoming. And so Powder River is an area part of the state, but it's also
that's great. I love it.
Wyoming chant Powder River Letter Buck. It's a thing.
That's
so
awesome.
It's that's what I'm drinking. It's 101 proof. It's the B flavor profile that we discussed earlier.
Okay.
And this was 19 barrels. 19 barrels that went into this. And I'll give you early info. This upcoming summer, we are going to be honoring Senator Alan Simpson, who Senator Hansen basically passed the baton to in the U.S.
All right.
Alan Simpson has been a national, not just a Wyoming, but a national treasure.
That's great.
Still alive. And I said, you know what, let's honor someone while they're alive and not dead.
There you go. I love that.
It's great.
That's so good.
David, can I just add to that and saying that the 2023 version of that is going to be 7+ years. It's 7 point, by the time it's bottled, it's going to be, I don't know, like 7.6 or 7 years old. And I think arguably I've been working on that blend for the past year.
Wow.
So I've been, it's not, just this year, it's something I've been going over for the past year at least. And I think that's arguably going to be the best one that we've ever done.
And I like to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just phenomenal. My prototypes on that are just, it's all I like to say, out of control.
It's like we're in a Wyoming Whiskey staff meeting right now. I love this. We're getting all the insight. I feel like we are. I feel like it. We're the two idiots.
We're like Kramer. Like we show up with like crackers in our briefcase. We know what the hell we're talking about. We walk in, we're like, hey, David, Nancy, what are we working on today?
Taking care of business.
Yep. TCB.
I love it. That's great. All right.
That's really cool. And not that we can complain because we're sipping on the 10 year. So it's like we got some good stuff over here too.
Can we talk about the 10 year? I know we talked about it with Nancy.
Talk about the 10 year.
Well, Nancy did a couple weeks ago, but we'll go again. Listen, we've had this. To me, it's the best whiskey I've had this year. I mean, well, I shouldn't say this. I want to toot Nancy's horn, but I haven't had your March whiskey from Still Austin, which you love your pick, Nancy. I've got one coming. So I absolutely love this whiskey. I love everything about it. You tell our audience, maybe I didn't see you a couple weeks ago, about this 10-year Wyoming Whiskey anniversary bourbon.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Well, so this has been a work in progress for a very long time. So just to let you guys know, I've been tending the stock, the flock, whatever you want to call it, since it was about 3.5 years old. And there were certain barrels I've been holding back because I thought they had greater maturation potential than the other barrels, even though they were from the same distillation lots coming from November and December of 2011. I have to say, luckily, I feel like I was right on that. That we actually wanted to release this product at in 2021, but I kind of felt like the stock wasn't ready that December, so we actually waited until the next spring. So in the age of the stock is at least 10.5 years old, if not a little older.
Mm-hmm.
When it was coming out of dormancy. So dormancy occurs with the barrels when the stock goes to the barrels are below 45 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
For an extended amount of time.
Sure.
Which, with Wyoming maturation, that's a good part of
6 months.
Yeah, right.
That's a long time. So while it says 10 years on the bottle, the actual maturation time is much longer than that.
Okay.
So David, I'll let you take it from there, and I just kind of wanted to add a few technical notes on that, but I'll sip my.
Hey, Dave, what does this whiskey mean yeah, I mean, from the technical aspect, but from the branding aspect, what does this whiskey mean for Wyoming whiskey? I mean, I assume it's a sort of a combination of everything you've done in the last 10 years, but I mean, it's such a good bottle too. And I hope people get to experience it. And, we're trying to spread this with our viewers as much as possible, but tell us what it means for Wyoming whiskey as well.
It's a validation. It's a celebration of so much hard work from so many people, so many different people, like I said, handing over of batons from Steve Nally to Sam to Curtis, really, who's the person who's been making it for the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing that we have come this far.
Right.
When Brad and Kate and I started this, we set out with the goal to become America's next great bourbon, which I thought was a fair thing to strive for and aspire to. And this bourbon, I couldn't be more proud of anything we've ever released, because it just goes to show how much we've learned. We've made so many mistakes. We've stepped on every rake in the field. But we've never stepped on the same rake twice. And we learn from each lesson. And it's been, I would put that bottle that you have there up against any bottle of bourbon in the United States. And it absolutely deserves a place at the table. And I'm not saying it's the best. I think a lot of that depends on flavor profile and what you like and whatnot. But that bottle deserves to be at the table and in the conversation. And
I was going to say it's in the conversation no matter what. I mean, this is first of all, we're learning to nose it like Nancy taught us. So we're making sure we're trying to get the dominant nostril
up top,
mouth slightly parted up top of here. We're trying to do that properly.
It's so decadent and syrupy on the nose, and then you taste it and it just follows through. I mean, I get tons of sort of like almost like sweetbread and dark fruits on the finish and brown baking spices. It's just there's so many things going on.
Sometimes with bourbon, which I find if you almost compare it to pizza, right?
Yeah.
So just hear me out on this.
All right, here you go. Italian, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Italian. So you have pizza and you're like, that's pretty good. Have it with your friends, whatever you pass around. And every now and then you go somewhere, you're like, yeah, it's pizza, it's cheese, it's sauce across the whole 9 yards, but it's in a different level. And that's what this bourbon is. It's just in a different level. It's got all the classic characteristics of a good bourbon, but it's elevated. It's
great
complex.
Bourbon. Yeah.
And it just takes it up a notch.
Yeah.
It's like finding that, like, you don't know where you're going to be when you find it, but you find it. But I think from a validation point too, I mean, just listening to you tell a story, David, about getting the call into the Meads office, like, oh my God, what do they want? And they're like, we're going to make bourbon. To all these years later, you're hanging out with Nancy Fraley. You're picking like the sweetest barrels you could possibly have. You've got a 10-year release. Wyoming Whiskey is what, 50 states now? You guys are all over, right? You got a national footprint. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing.
And William Hall's going out and he's like, that's it. I'm going to get my Wyoming Whiskey this weekend. He's going. And I hope all you guys are going out there and getting, the outrider or even just a small batch and, anything you can find, because it's really, I mean, we all have our favorites, but you can't go wrong with anyone.
But the stories are cool because every bottle, there's a story that's told with it. And I think that's what's really fun about,
Oh, there you go,
Wyoming
Shauna.
Whiskey, yeah.
I like it. She says she found a store. Look, people are looking for this right now. An hour away. And there it is. I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's worth
the hour drive.
It is 100% worth it.
It is worth it.
And if there's more than one, pick us up one and we'll pay you for it. I'll say no. I'm just.
Hey, David, I hope you don't mind if I just quickly share this. So when we put the barrels together for the 10-year anniversary, roughly turned out to be about 119 proof, and we didn't have a set. And I'm always so appreciative that for a very high-end product like this, there's no set proof at which it has to be bottled. We actually went step by step, going all the way from 119 down to, about like 90 proof, and tried to find the perfect proof for this for release. And it just so happened that we landed on 103.4, which is kind of arbitrary. Why, there's no logical reason why we would do that. But, we were just kind of looking for the very best of what this product could be. We could have gone much lower and tried to thin out the bourbon. You know, we could have gone higher where it would have been a little bit more aggressive, and you know that the barrels had actually gone higher in proof over the years. And I mean, you know, that would have been intense, but it would have been very aggressive on the palate. So we spent a lot of time just, you know, trying to find that perfect point.
Yeah.
You know, again, you know, thank God there's no, you know, you know, we didn't have a, you know, it has to be, you know, 94 proof or 96 or 88 or whatever. It was just where it perfectly landed. And I so appreciate that as a blender. You know, and also I think it just, you know, that was the perfect proof for this product.
Well, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime bottle. I mean, that is just, it's fantastic.
Yeah. How much is distributed this, guys? You said it was 20 barrels, or what was again the total yield for this? I mean, what are we talking about in terms of the numbers for this? And I know it came out late last year, so there's still probably some in the wild out there if you can find it.
Yes, and I'll tell you why you'll be able to find it. There's just been a little bit of a delay, in regard to getting it to California and Colorado.
Okay.
So if you are in those two states, this will be hitting the shelves probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh,
wow.
So you'll want to look
Who do
there.
we know in those states?
It was also released in New York Metro and Georgia. And here in Wyoming, we're pretty much sold out. You could probably still find a couple bottles in some of the smaller towns around the state who are just great supporters of ours.
Yeah.
But I would say look closely at California and Colorado. They're going to be holding on to this at a point where it's really starting to hit its stride as far as popularity. But I want to throw in, I'll never forget where I was when Nancy called me after she had taken this task very seriously, like the first cut at tasting through these samples that we had sent her. And, you know, she was breaking some bad news to me, which was it just wasn't working as she wanted. And she told me that she had donned the full, I don't know if it's regalia, the full outfit. She was wearing a kilt, box,
yes,
a little purse, which she'll correct me on what the name is, and took this as seriously as anything she's ever done. And it was an honor to me that she would take it that seriously, and it means a lot to me, Nancy. I know I've told you that before, but
yeah, absolutely.
That goes on behind the scenes that nobody knows.
There you go.
Yeah, I have a lot of Scottish ancestry, a lot of Scottish DNA, and I've got, you know, I donned one of my family kilts, and when I was blending this, I you know, just kind of went full regalia, you know, with the you know, the kilt and the sporran, you know, which is the little purse that kind of, you know, sits, how shall I say it, right in front of your genitalia. but that said, you know, you know, I just went like full on, you know, kind of like honoring my family ancestry as a, you know, whiskey maker and a blender and such. We ended up with the final barrel count on this was 20 barrels.
Okay.
It could have been 23.
Yeah.
It could have been 17. It could have been, you know, 14. It could have been, you know, there was no company mandate on how many barrels it would have been. I mean, it just so happened that it was 20, and, you know, it landed on even number, but, you know, thank God it was not, you know, there was no cap on, you know, how much, you know, the proof or, you know, you know, how many barrels it had to be or anything like that. You know, which I, you know,
it seems like it's a recurring theme. That's a great thing.
We don't,
yeah.
We don't pick barrels from the
so rare.
Paper.
Yeah, right.
Never. We've always let the barrels tell us what to do with them.
Yeah,
and that's what it all comes down to. And
that's amazing. Yeah,
Nancy is the one who we've handed the discretion to, and she is.
It's a great thing.
Well, everything seems to be so organic, which is nice. I mean, it just kind of happens, and I think that's it's you know, that's when you know it's right. Nothing's forced, and it just kind of works.
Yeah,
you're on the double cast.
I am on double cast.
Barrels tell you what what they want, and
Yeah.
you listen to them. I mean, especially for your higher end products like that, you maybe a single or a small batch is a little different, but the high end products, they tell you, you don't tell them.
Well,
Yeah, right.
They told you all right on this one. This is this is really good. It's just
before you go to double cask, I would ask Nancy to inform you guys and everyone who's listening in about the other 3 barrels.
Oh.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Something.
the other 3 barrels.
The final 3 barrels from that batch that have been set aside because you said these should be single.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so just real quick while we're still talking about I assume this is what you're talking about, David, before we talk while we're still on to the
10-year.
So there were 3 barrels of the rye bourbon, a true rye bourbon that I thought were, how shall I put it, just a little too exceptional just to put in this blend.
Yeah.
And I mean, I loved everything that went into that, the blend for the 10-year, but there were 3 barrels that I thought were just so exceptional that they ought to be set aside. And we did that. So
what's the plans for those barrels?
I want to hand that back over to David.
Because that's what we all want to know. Okay.
I want to hang on to those because they were just so good.
Okay.
So
all right.
So she, when she broke this horrible news to us, because I had already tasted the prototype of what 10-year was going to be, and basically she was saying these barrels were too good
coming out,
by themselves. The parts are greater than the sum in this instance.
Yeah.
So what we did, we set them aside. We didn't know exactly what we were going to do with them, but we have a National Parks series. National Parks 1 was 2 years ago. National Parks 2 was this past summer. And each year we're donating a significant amount of money to different charitable organizations. The first year was $120,000 that we donated to National Park Foundation.
That's great. That's so great.
And then last year, Yellowstone turned 150 years old, which is our first national park.
Oh, great.
So we donated $150,000 to Yellowstone Forever, which somebody wants to donate some money to a really cool organization that preserves what I find to be one of the most I'm looking up the road because the Yellowstone's right there.
Oh man, how about that?
It's like I just was named to their advisory board, which I don't ever accept many board nominations.
That's cool.
That is cool. That is great. That's amazing.
I'm proud to be a part of this. Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Park, which is National Parks 3, which I'll get to in a second, have really helped form who I am as a person.
That's great. That's so cool.
In the mountains, through skiing in the mountains, through fishing, and all of that. So this has been our dedication to preserving wide open spaces. What we'll be doing with the 3 barrels this upcoming summer is we will be putting that in our Halo version of National Parks 3. The placeholder name for all of these is we have an Everyman, which is something that's going to be not generally available, but readily available to people who want to find it. And that's a blend of similar size to what we've been talking about,
right?
19, 25 barrels, something like that.
Yeah.
Then these 3 barrels will form what we're going to be calling the Grand.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Grand Teton National Park.
That's great.
Literally right here, and donating significant money to them. Meaningful money, I think is a better word.
Yeah.
And because these are places that we have to preserve. We have to make sure they are pristine. And when your children come and visit them, they get to see it the same way it was.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
I saw them my first time, and my parents, and all of that. So these 3 barrels, we're trying to figure out what to do with them. We will probably do 3 different grand offerings, and each one of them will have a number or something, maybe a barrel number. And so they'll be released around the country, and it'll become one of those ridiculous collectible thing.
That's right. So yeah, you're supporting Wyoming Whiskey National Park. Yeah, it's a win-win. You support the national parks and you get amazing juice, and that's what it should be about.
And if you want, if you know a couple guys to promote them and review them,
I don't think they're doing that.
I don't know if
Andy,
you know anybody.
It's for charity.
Oh, I'm just saying we can push it out a little bit and just. I'm kidding.
Anyway,
I'm kidding.
Kick them off, will you?
I will say, just knowing, that those 3 barrels were part of what was held back because they, I thought they had great maturation potential, and yet they were too good for the 10-year. Sorry about, I'm kind of choking on something here, but
no worries.
Must be that outrider.
Got to her.
Those 3 barrels, and David, if you want me to take some notes on those, I'll be happy to do that.
Of course, yeah.
Just the mere fact that I even held them back for that amount of time and they didn't go into the 10-year, which to me is just kind of like the creme de la creme of anything we've done so far. I hope that says something to you.
That's amazing.
It says something.
But yeah, for good, it's so funny because we talk about such a different scale. I'd love to go out there and see Yellowstone and just kind of be out there. When I was in Salt Lake City, I drove through the mountains. When I got out of it, and I drove into Evanston, literally they had a little local park. It had like a couple bison and
which we don't see around here.
No, we don't see any of that here. But such a small scale. I mean, it was tiny. It was next to a little diner that only took cash across the street. It was cool. But I'm thinking what a small scale that was compared to like being out there in the mountains and the lakes and everything. And I want to go back. Like I really
now we have a reason.
I want to see it. Yeah, I do. I want to get out there. There's a part we don't see out here. I mean,
nope.
East Coast is hustle and bustle and you're running and everything. So yeah, it's just a completely different part of the country.
David, you went to Catholic, so you know what the DC, Baltimore area is like. It's a big megalopolis, so it's nothing like where you are now. So yeah. Real quick, anybody in the chat, if you have questions for either Nancy or David about Wyoming Whiskey, certainly put them in there. If you super chat, we'll definitely get to them. We're going to wrap it up very soon. We're getting our last expression.
I have a question for Nancy. David, since Nancy did want to wrap a little music here.
Yes.
So you were talking, Nancy, you prefer the male rock vocalist.
I do.
David, you like the female vocalist, which I say they're both. I mean,
okay,
fantastic. Give me two of each. 2 female vocalists that you really dig, 2 male vocalists you really dig. Any genre.
Ooh.
We'll let you both think about that. Todd, I'll give the same question to you too. Two female and 2 male vocalists, solo rock.
Well, one's very easy for me, for male. I mean, Freddie Mercury is always going to be the top. Female vocalists. What about you? Let me think.
Female. I mean,
Ann Hart,
and Wilson.
Yeah. And Wilson. I mean,
and Wilson would be.
And Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it. So for female, Ann Wilson from Heart.
Yeah.
Any day of the week. It's strong. It's it's not too sing-songy. It's for rock and roll and for hard edge stuff. I love that voice. This might be kind of controversial, but I actually like Stevie Nicks.
Oh well, no,
we talked about her earlier. She's great.
Yeah, she's on my list.
I mean, that's not country. That's yes.
It's a little bit more gravelly or I love that. I don't like pretty sing-songy female voices. So like women like Ann Wilson or
what about somebody like Janis Joplin?
Stevie Nicks, Janis Joplin would also be right up my alley, or
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus. I don't think Miley Cyrus is up Nancy's alley. I don't think so. What do you think?
You like Miley Cyrus, Todd?
You love Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, you can't discount Miley Cyrus. She's got a beautiful voice, and it's gravelly.
That's true.
Okay, my friend, I defer to you on that. That's
no, you could disagree with me anytime you want.
I actually do disagree with you. For a male, I like what can I say? As a Leonard Skinner fan, I love Ronnie Van Zant.
That's great.
I also like oh boy, this is hard. Because I like the male voice better when it comes to music. God, I can almost say God, what's his name from um
I'll give one while she's thinking. What about Steve Perry of Journey?
I love Steve Perry, but
Yeah.
that's not one of my favorites.
Okay. All right.
I like oh gosh, this is
Come on,
gonna
Nancy.
be so controversial.
Oh no.
So I like oh God, what's his name? Bass player.
Kip Winger, is it?
No. From he's a tenor.
I don't know.
From Chicago.
Oh, not the singer from Chicago, right? Are you talking about the singer from the band Chicago?
That's Peter Cetera, who's got a great voice, by the way.
Peter Cetera.
Cetera. During the Terry Kath era, I'm not talking about the sappy shit.
That's right. Yeah, there you go.
Like during a Terry Kath era, and I love Terry Kath's voice, more baritone too. But I have to say I love Peter Cetera during the Terry Kath era.
There it is.
That makes sense. So
Elton John.
I love
Elton John.
Elton John. Oh yeah. So I love bassists who have tenor voices like Geddy Lee, but also
there you go. Yes.
And like Peter Cetera, Geddy Lee.
Robert Plant.
Yes, ma'am. Amy.
Michael Hutchins.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes.
At the end of that, yeah, sure. Yeah. That's
me out when he passed.
He had a cool,
really
sound
cool
to him.
Sound and vibe.
Cool sound.
Yep.
Cool look, almost like Jim Morrison reincarnated, like kind of like had that vibe.
Love that.
He was cool, and he was alternative rock before alternative rock was even there in the 80s. Like he almost like kind of like a stepping stone there, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Love it. Bon Scott. Jimmy says Bon Scott. There you go. You know what Bon Scott is? There it is.
Yeah. Love Bon Scott for sure. All right, David, it's your turn.
All right, David.
So I will say on the male side, even though Elton John's music isn't necessarily my favorite music, I would say I do love his voice. I really appreciate what he does. Michael Hutchins, I've always thought has that unique voice, that a beautiful voice, just powerful, but not overly dominant in a song. It fits right in. Balance is something that Nancy has taught me when it comes to whiskey, that others have taught me when it comes to cocktails. And I think in a band, when you talk about music, you don't want any one instrument or any one thing just spiking, except for in moments. And I just thought his voice just fits so perfectly within Excess.
So agreed.
Perfect. Yeah.
I would say, because I'm a Van Halen fan, I don't think David Lee Roth's voice is anything special, but there are moments in certain songs that, like the beginning of Unchained, when he unleashes that primal scream, there is nothing better than. There's nothing better like that.
He's the epitome of a showman. Like,
yes,
he is.
You can. I could imagine if he had laryngitis and couldn't hit a note, that if you went and saw him, you'd still be enamored by just David Lee Roth being David Lee Roth back in the day. The one thing, and this might be, Nancy talked about a little controversial. I did love Van Hagar, but what I liked the most about that era of Van Halen with Sammy Hagar is when David Lee Roth went solo, he surrounded himself with some ridiculously killer musicians. So even though he didn't have Eddie, he still had some just insane guitar players playing for him. So it's almost like you got two Van Halens at the same time, because some of his solo stuff is some of my favorite David Lee Roth stuff. Like, he had some really good albums. Totally. So I kind of got both of them at the same time. Like, that was a fun time for us in rock and roll, that was like a really fun time for us.
It was.
I agree.
All right, real quick, last chance for the giveaway, guys. Samples of everything from Wyoming Whiskey we're sipping on tonight, and also some Wyoming Whiskey merch. We're going to do the giveaway, and then we've got some Patreon giveaways to give away at the end of the. What are you laughing at?
William Hall said,
What's
"Man,
that?
Hagar, rethinking my Patreon status."
Exactly.
Oh,
Way to go, Andy.
Hey, I
Way to go.
didn't say I didn't like. I love David Lee Roth. I'm just saying that was a fun time having them both at the same time. I was not as big into Sammy's solo stuff. Sammy was better with Van Halen. David was great with both. That would be my take on it.
David Lee Roth all the way. Yeah,
I agree.
No one's picking Gary Sharon for Van Halen 3.
No, they're not.
Can I just add one thing on the male voice thing? And
Sure.
I'm
Yes.
so untrained, but I love Mick Jagger.
Oh,
I love that untrained
yes.
thing. That's like just
showman
raw.
too. Yes.
Yeah, showman. Just
And that's part of it, right?
He's one of my all-time faves.
Well, I think rock. The nice thing about rock music is it doesn't have to be technically perfect.
No.
Sometimes it doesn't sound right when it is. You like that rawness, that raspiness and stuff. I mean, Mick Jagger is awesome. He's not a great singer.
No.
But he's such a good front man, and he's got such a unique and iconic voice. You can pick him out anywhere. Like, you just know his. That's the same thing with like Bruce. Like you talked about Bruce earlier. Like, Bruce is not this classically trained singer, but he's got that iconic, raspy Jersey voice. Like, that's, you're listening to Bruce Springsteen. You're the bosses.
Perfect for what he does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
He'd start frontman, and that's and I'm sorry, David. I feel like very few, and what can I say? I've got a female partner. It's not that I don't love women.
That's right. There you go. That's right.
When it comes to voices, I feel like very few people are my favorites are just male, and what they're able to deliver vocally and emotionally and just on so many levels that's where I connect. It's not that you're wrong, David. It's like our taste in whiskey. My daily drinker is outrider. What can I say? I like a little bit more gravelly.
There you go.
And it has been a daily drinker since the beginning that we've ever done it.
There you go.
And
hey, real quick, I want to shout out to the Bourbon Whiskey Uncensored. He is also adding into our giveaway a sample of his 6-year weeded private barrel from Wyoming Whiskey that Nancy picked for Harry's in Connecticut. So
that's cool.
Check that out. And real quick, Ben is going up in Mad Madness on Friday. There it is. She's got it. Look, there it is. There it is.
Oh, look at that.
So that's adding to it.
Barrel. It's 7.
That's awesome.
Shoot, that's Powder River, but it's
I love Harry's.
Barrel.
Harry's amazing.
110. Yeah,
there you go.
That's really cool. Look at that private stock. Look at that.
All right, so there you go.
All right.
Whiskey Uncensored, and he will be on Matt's Madness this Friday. Guys, Bourbon, put your link to your channel, guys. Go support him Friday night on Matt
Very
Madness.
Cool.
And
by
go
the way,
check out
I will
Ben.
throw this out there. Michael Dowd said David Coverdale. There's another just I think perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
Voice.
I agree.
Coverdale's fantastic.
But Ben, thank you for that. So that's adding another into the whiskey. You're getting a lot of Wyoming whiskey, guys. So that's awesome.
Yeah, ton of Wyoming whiskey tonight. So
last chance, we'll spin the wheel. Updated Andy, and any other questions for? Well, we didn't even talk about. Maybe we should talk real quick about the double cask. Because Saucy Shane's been drinking this. He did a review of this on his channel. By the way,
almost gone. I need
it is almost gone.
That's really good,
guys. What do we want to talk about the double cask? It's finished in sherry barrels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything in particular about this one that we want to talk about? I mean, 100 proof again, and I've been sipping on it after the 10-year, and it hasn't fallen off. I mean, it's a great finished whiskey. Oh God, the nose on this. Wow.
Did we pull everybody? We kicked everybody off. There we are. They're all back. Okay.
Sorry. There you go. Don't kick everybody off, Andy.
Nancy can weigh in on this as well here, but the development of that, again, we got to a point where I'm reading all the publications and what some of these other distilleries are doing with secondary maturation. And we weren't looking to mask anything at this point, but I just said, Nancy, what could we do that would, let's show off a little bit, let's take our base product, which we now know is very good. And what would be the perfect complement to it? And we landed on a Pedro Jimenez sherry cask as the secondary barrel. And the quick, like I said, we've stepped on every rake in the field. Well, the rake we stepped on here was we filled 5 sherry barrels with our fully matured Wyoming whiskey bourbon. And on the 8th day, it was perfect. And on the 9th day, it was blown. Oh. It became so tannic, and it was like you're chewing on bark.
Really?
So that ended up back in bourbon barrels. I don't even know where they are in the warehouse, Nancy. Maybe you do, but they're trying to heal. And then we put more bourbon back in, and we figured out we had to watch it every day. So this is a very handmade type of a thing where we're sampling it on a daily basis. And when it's ready, we literally dump into stainless immediately. And to me, this is our dessert bourbon. This is
super fruit. It's super
almost like a strawberry shortcake
right now. And so, when as David said, when I first was given the task of grading this, I went did a little bit of prototyping. Kind of see how it would go with the Oloroso. We were actually looking at a mezcal finish, believe it or not, or just like cognac, Armagnac, that kind of thing, and so what I found is that with ours, I went with our profile B.
Oof.
This more that dry dark fruit type thing, date, fig kind of or raisin kind of note, and kind of long story short, after a lot of prototypes, ended up with the PX cask that ended up being the thing that worked the best,
the winner.
Yeah, and as David said, the very first iteration of it, about 5 to 7 days out, it was the height of summer, it was like, I don't know what, at least 100 degrees every day. With all those tannins and then everything going on, the initial barrels just within 7 to 10 days, just like so tannic and so overbearing. But so anyway, that is, and those are still we put those into exhausted cask. They're still kind of mellowing out, but after that we kind of dialed everything in.
Okay.
And so that the profile kind of goes with the our profile B.
Okay.
And the darker dried fruit, all of that kind of stuff to go with the PX cask. But it is very much of a dessert type of
it's what a beautiful, it's a gorgeous nose.
And, Saucy Shane, who I think it says raisin cream pie in a glass. That's not a bad
Saucy.
that is not a bad it's certainly
like almost like strawberry shortcake.
I get more like even on the nose, more of a apricot, sort of that pitted fruit, sort of that type of nose on it, man. It's just super, super nice on the nose. And then
this is a beautiful pour.
Although I have the outrider.
We've learned how to get better quality cask. Make sure that when those barrels are filled, that we get them at the right time of year. It's not like in the height of July or August, when it's the hottest time of year. So we've kind of learned how to dial that product in to make it more consistent, and to make it where you still get those delicious kind of raisiny, dark dried fruit kind of notes, but it's not overbearing, and it just really pairs very well with the profile in the warehouse that maybe comes from B profile. I kind of think is like center cut. What you would call center cut in Kentucky. It's kind of like that. Between rows. I don't, B and D maybe, just kind of, not too low, not too high, but just right in the center. And it's now I feel like it's a very consistent product.
Okay.
And
This is all the offerings tonight have been fantastic.
It's like a dessert.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, and that's what we're ending with. Yeah. So
this has been all these offerings have been fantastic. So you're going to get all these plus the special
from Whiskey Uncensored from bourbon,
and some swag from Wyoming Whiskey. We did have a question, David, about distillery tours. Do you guys offer distillery tours on the regular out in Kirby?
We stopped when COVID started for obvious reasons, and we haven't picked them back up. That may happen here in the near future, but at this point, I know Amanda doesn't have any immediate plans of offering them again. There's a bunch of safety issues. But that said, we have tastings and everything in our new whiskey shop right there in Kirby, which is half a block away. We just moved into a bigger building that used to be an old bar, and it's perfect.
So let's be honest. You're in a small town. I mean, you're right there. So
that'd be fun.
Yeah,
we'd love to get out there, and so
you guys get tours for sure.
Well, there you go, Andy. Hear that?
I like that.
I like that.
That's cool. No, we'd love to come out. I think that'd be a ton of fun.
So anyway, while I load up the wheel, let's any last questions for our esteemed guest tonight? This is
I have one that's funny. Okay, we always end this way. We did this to Nancy. We're gonna do it to David. But Hollywood is making a movie.
Brad Pitt
called the
That's it.
He said Brad Pitt already.
Yes.
Someone started off the chat knowing we were going to ask this question. Goes, you guys are going to have David on. I think he looks like Scott Bakula. Do you remember? Do you remember? And I don't think that's an insult at all.
No.
He was a good looking dude, but he was. What was the show
compared to what I get compared to? Yeah, that's great.
Todd, you don't get anybody good.
No,
but what was Bakula's show? He did
hold on.
Was it Quantum Leap? Was that
that's what it was. That's Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that show. By the way,
so if Brad Pitt turns it down, or just if he happens to be busy, doing Legends of the Fall 2 or something, then we'll have that's I love it. Brad Pitt didn't even hesitate. Brad Pitt. Todd said that once, and we had to disagree with him. So.
About me?
Yeah.
No, I said like Scott Van Pelt or the lead singer of
Billy Corrigan
from Smashing Pumpkins. One of the two.
I like Pitt's attitude. He's just so like whatever.
He's so cool too. Yeah, I could never pull that off. Neither could you.
For who?
You, Brad Pitt. Yes. No, don't even tell me.
No.
I can't pull it off.
No, very few can. Anyway. All right, let me load up the wheel, and we'll get the wheel up, and guys, we'll give away some good, amazing Wyoming whiskey samples, some swag, and we'll wrap it up. I do have some Patreon giveaways. I'm not forgetting that, so just stand tight. What are you laughing at?
JG always comes to one late. Todd is Vern Troy.
Vern Troy.
I think that's Mini Me from.
Why can't I just be Dr. Evil? Can I just be Dr. Evil? Why am I Mini Me? Why am I Mini Me?
I kind of like it.
I'm as tall as you are.
I kind of like it.
All right, let's bring up the wheel.
All right.
Anyway, all right, I like that. So,
killer giveaway tonight. So we didn't expect to have both David and Nancy on.
How awesome is this?
Surprise.
Well, it started with
really
Nancy.
Cool.
Wait, we wanted to have Nancy on, and she has these relationships with Still Austin and Wyoming Whiskey. So let's reach out to them, and it just worked out. It was back to back to back, and it's great to close it out with Nancy as well. Right?
Yeah,
there we go. So
that's very cool. Dave, we hope you enjoyed coming on tonight and hanging out with us.
He needs to eat, right? Let's share the screen.
Oh
let's
yeah,
give
I'm getting hangry.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, present.
This is what we said. You can throw something at us, but guys, let's go. I'm done. All right, Todd, you have the wheel?
No, it froze on me.
Technical difficulties at the last possible moment.
Yep, I'm not kidding you either.
Did you? All right.
Favorite Def Leppard song?
Ooh. Let's see that.
Don't. Yep.
So cue it up right now.
That changes for me daily.
Right now. Mine's photograph.
Animal. I'll say animal. I could
like
change.
Photograph. Yeah.
Photograph's
for
a
me.
good one too.
There it is.
I've seen them like upwards of 30 times. I have
true
seen
statement.
Lep so many times. Which is kind of insane. Yeah. But so sometimes we do on this show if you're ever bored, David or Nancy. So
Nancy's probably seen it.
We do these. We pit two albums against each other. We put the songs up. What's the stronger album? And I've always avoided it because I love them so much. We're gonna do around my birthday in April 10th. We have a live stream right around there.
All
we're
right.
gonna do Pyromania versus Hysteria. I have to pick an album. I finally have to pick an album. So we're gonna go track by track, and I have to pick either Hysteria or Pyromania. So that's coming. Yeah.
All right.
So We'll see. We'll see who wins.
All right, let's give away some Wyoming whiskey and some swag. And
oh, look at this! People are all already chiming.
Photograph is correct.
Photograph hysteria. Oh, it's gonna be a good one. Rock
for Andy's birthday.
I can't wait. That's gonna be fun.
All right, are you ready to spin the wheel?
All right, spin the rigged wheel.
Thank you all for the support, guys. Thank you to David and Nancy from Wyoming. I mean, this is just amazing 3 weeks we've had. So let's see who wins the Wyoming whiskey giveaway. Ready?
All right, roll it.
I can't see a thing on that wheel.
Well, like Scott Van Pelt, your eyes are bad too.
That's true.
Let me see.
You can't see either.
Then the winner is
Whiskey Wars.
All
Sean.
right, Sean, congratulations.
All right,
Whiskey
Sean.
Wars.
All right.
Whiskey Wars.
Very,
Well
very
done.
cool. That's awesome.
Very good. All right. So there you go. Anyway, guys, any Patreon members, head over to our Patreon page. I'll put a link. We're going to give away the bottles for the Patreon members that we have. We're not going to do it here, but in 5 minutes we'll have it up. So
yeah, we'll put the link up. We'll spin the wheel and get that over there. Again, to David for coming on tonight, and Nancy for joining us. We appreciate it.
I mean, amazing.
Just a fun evening, but really good stuff going on, and just the progression, the story. It's all really, really cool. Makes me want to go out to Wyoming that much more. So we
no doubt.
Yeah, we truly appreciate you guys. Gosh, how should I end this thing, Todd?
I think you should just end it, Andy.
It's got to be something a little bit funny.
You
a little bit funny.
Really need to go out to Wyoming. There's something, that a rarity of how unique the maturation is.
There you go.
Said everything about it. You'll never find anything like it.
Yeah,
that's ever again.
I think our Patrons. You want that to happen? I think they do, Andy.
Wyoming trip.
So
I'd be down
with
that.
a pick. I think that's what they'd be all up for.
Yeah,
we could totally do that.
Nancy and David, stick around while we close out if you can for 2 seconds. To the rest of you, thank you.
Cheers, everybody. We'll see you next week.
We're gonna walk out with Todd being a real man of genius.
It's my birthday party next week, guys.
Next week, this man's birthday. This guy is turning
47 years old.
No, that's
All
not
right.
true.
47.
You said you're 52.
I'm not 52. I'm 47.
Whatever. He is a real man of genius.
It's my son's 18th birthday today. There he is, right there.
There he
Jordan, happy birthday, buddy. There he is.
Cool.
He's 18.
All right, see you next week,
All right,
guys.
guys.
Stick
Cheers,
around. David, Nancy, stick around for 2 seconds. We want to say thanks, but till then, see you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real men of genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Really, Really, Really Bad Dancer.
Mr. Really, really, really bad dancer.
Arms swinging, knees bending, head bobbing to no particular rhythm. You're either dancing or you have fleas.
Call me a doctor.
As soon as you hit the dance floor, the taunts begin. Is that all you got, playa? Unfortunately, yes, that's all you got.
Pour it on now.
Who's in the house? Some guy who can't dance. That's who's in the house.
Your style.